Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about positioning as well as repositioning, because I think that's very important, especially for the fact that a lot of people will get way too invested in a fight and feel like they can't give up at that point since they've already wasted so many materials, ammo, or whatever they might deem that is valuable in terms of a fight. So I hope you guys do enjoy the rest of the video. I have some pub gameplay right here playing, which is a 13 kill win, and then after that I have 2 clips from scrims that I'm going to talk over for you guys. However, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the video. So I'm not sure what kind of games you all played before Fortnite. However, I know I came from playing a lot of big AAA titles such as COD, Battlefield, and such, and the games that you typically don't have to put too much thought into and a lot of run and gun. So when I came to Fortnite, I didn't really get the concept of positioning, and a lot of that came down to figuring out where your opponent is. Can you get an advantage on them through some sort of natural terrain and such? And for me, I didn't think it was that much of a deal within Fortnite, because it wasn't so much like PUBG where you can't build and you have to use your natural cover at all times. However, in Fortnite, it is really important and can set you up a lot, especially for the fact if you don't have a lot of mats, using houses or positioning yourself to get those right hand peaks within houses, as well as setting yourself up on mountains and moving to storm the right way can all set you up for a great end game. Now, there's all sorts of positions that are very beneficial. However, one of the best is high ground, and even better, natural high ground, because that means you don't have to waste your mats and your opponent does. As well, a lot of the times if you're up on top of a mountain, or say you're in tilted and you're sitting on top of Trump, both of those give you a lot of vision and you can see what everybody around you is doing. So a lot of the times it'll give you the jump on if an enemy is building up to you, and that will allow you to either get shots off on them if they're low, or if they are getting closer to you, then you can build up and you automatically have that high ground advantage, and you can keep building and building to keep that high ground advantage, which puts you a couple steps ahead of your enemy. So now I want to talk about repositioning a little bit, because I think it is very important, and I have a clip at the end which will kind of illustrate my point a little bit further. However, it is very important within team modes, especially as if your teammate is still holding down an angle and making themselves present, you can reposition and hopefully get some free shots off on your enemy, as they'll still be looking in a different direction. And a lot of times that can open up the fight, as you can put a lot of damage in and maybe even get a pick. So the time I really reposition the most is if a fight is not really going my way, and that could be for a multitude of reasons, as Fortnite is a very vast game and a lot of things can happen, especially in build battles and such. It's really important to kind of look at what you have and see what you can do with it. For example, an explosive can really turn the tide of a fight, as an RPG is pretty powerful, as well as GLs and dynamites and such. So utilizing those in the right situations is very important, especially if your opponent is staying up on height. You can really use that to knock him down. As well as the amount of movement items within this game is pretty crazy, and they seem to be adding more and more every day. So if you are stuck in a situation where you really don't feel like you can win it, or maybe your opponent is just overbuilding and there's not really much you can do to take back height, then maybe using that movement to get out of that situation might be the best option. And this clip right here is exactly what happens, and I'm going to quickly talk over a little bit to talk about kind of what I was thinking while I was going to make a move for repositioning. So it was clear that this guy was a good player, so I wasn't going to be doing anything stupid, and he did have a deagle and was spamming me pretty good. So I knew taking height was going to be hard, but it was my fault for losing it in the first place. So like I said before, using explosives can really turn the tide of a fight. So I do drop in hopes of knocking the entire build down. However, there was a lot connected, so I wasn't sure. However, I was going to see how much he would let me get away with. However, I did want to be safe, so I do kind of bunker up and hit a couple of minis. But as you can see here, every time I try to take height, he just builds up. So at this point, I'm not too sure if I even want to keep pushing height, but circle was so close, I felt like repositioning at this point wasn't going to be the best idea. So at this point I want to try to take height one more time, as I do have jump pads, so getting down or moving to the next zone isn't that much of a problem. So I do sacrifice a little bit of health and shield in attempts to take height, which I do for a brief second. However, his ramp just extends right over mine. At this point I feel like it's better off with me just to get out of here and head to the next zone and hope he doesn't follow me right away. That way I can heal back up and maybe be able to take a little quick high ground. And for some reason this guy decides not to follow my jump pad, which doesn't really make too much sense to me, as he did kind of have me on the ropes at this point, as he's been picking at me this entire fight. And instead he decides to go down the builds, which allows me to kind of set myself up more nicely and get high ground in the zone. And then at this point, it's my job just to hold him outside of zone. That way I can put as much pressure onto him as he's pushing in, trying to build into zone. And as you can see, I'm trying to not let him build up and get any sort of high ground. So at this point, I can knock down his builds with my rocket. And I do end up getting a pretty good tag on him, which allows me to finish him off, luckily. So in this clip, I do want to talk about my rotation as well as my positioning, as I felt like I did really good in the mid-ground area. However, towards the end of this clip, I do mess up, and I do want to talk about that as well. However, this game, we didn't really have as much mats as I hoped, as we kind of got screwed over all game and my partner ended up dying. And I don't do too great of a job at seeing my surroundings, as I get clocked pretty good. And that really sets me back a lot, especially when you're sitting at 47 health and storm damage is doing 10. It's not really a great situation to be in. However, I do get up the mountain, and luckily I get a lucky launch pad right there. And that'll carry me over to the next zone. And at this point, I'm not really sitting on too many mats, especially for this early in the late game. And I need to utilize other players' builds and kind of make my rotations based off of where everybody else has. And as you can see there, that storm damage does come in pretty hard, as I'm now sitting at 27 health with no health heals. So like I said before, I don't have too much mats, so I'm trying to use what everybody else builds are. So I don't want to go early, because if I go early, I'm going to have to utilize my own mats. But I still do want to put pressure on people, as maybe I can get a nice pick and hopefully pick up a good amount of mats. So as you can see here, I'm waiting for a storm to push in my back, and I'm trying to get whatever advantage I have, so that way nobody can come up behind me. However, at this point, it didn't seem like there was too many people up on height, so I do kind of make a really aggressive, but looking back on it, a pretty dumb push, as again, I didn't have too many mats, and at this point, I'm sitting at 120, and this is where I burned just about all my mats. And at this point, my partner tells me here in a second that I am completely out of mats, and that's kind of why I'm playing so aggro, as I need a way to kind of replenish myself. And as you can see there, I am now completely out of mats. And this is where I kind of goof up. As there are a lot of builds around, I could have easily jumped onto the mid ground and stayed there and kind of hugged the zone, but I jump all the way down and end up just getting beamed. Alright, so that's going to be the end of the video there, guys. I hope you did enjoy. Make sure to let me know what you thought about down in the comments below. As well, I do have a couple of creative mode maps coming this week and some other really cool things, so make sure to stay tuned, as I'll be dropping those probably on Wednesday and Tuesday depending on how much I can get done over the next couple of days. But I also do want to thank you guys so much for your support. We just hit 8K, which is absolutely nuts, and I can't thank you guys enough for all the support on all the videos I've been putting out recently. I've gotten a lot of great feedback from you guys, and I can't thank you all enough for that. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all in the next one.